mummies were made by the humans. It's never really gotten a lot of traction in like the American media, in like mainstream ufology. It doesn't get as much traction as it should at all. But at some point, they had a presentation at like the Mexican Congress, and Ryan Graves was there for some reason, also talking about aerospace safety, probably. And the same day that Ryan Graves was there, they rolled out some Nazca mummies and did a presentation on Nazca mummies, and it kind of seemed like he was kind of part of it all, even though he probably wasn't. And I think that's as close as we've ever gotten to any real mainstream ufology coverage. I guess, here's a little bit of it being talked about on Joe Rogan. So that's mainstream. On this character. So there's been some mainstream, but not enough. Like they obviously should have gotten a lot more mainstream coverage. But the reason they don't is this guy right here. Jimmy Maussan is just, whether he's a good guy or not, he's not a good frontman. He's not a good spokesperson. He's not a good icon for your movement or for this movement, or for this topic, or for this category. And he is the spokesman, the icon, the spearhead, the captain of the ship when it comes to Nazca Mummies. No matter how hard they try, and people aren't trying very hard to detach from Jamie Maussan. They should. They should get another guy. And they should get a guy from, I guess from America, some mainstream dude, mainstream ufology dude, like a Timothy Alberino. I always nominate him. He should get in there and become the new Jamie Maussan. Just put Jamie Maussan in the background. He's just gotten in trouble in the past for stealing mummies, dolls, whether they're aliens or not, authentic or not, from one country to the other. And there's, decades of him getting in trouble for stealing artifacts. And a lot of the artifacts being fake. And so, whether any of that's even true, it just detracts from him in a really heavy and terrible way. And that, in turn, has this, like, almost exact direct transfer to the Nazca Mummy topic and category. But, they're sticking in there. They some people have, like, here's this guy, Gonzalo Chavez, and I have him, Chavez. I have him in here on his own, probably, as we go through here. Because I tell him all the time when he posts stuff by Jimmy Maussan, I post back to him, I say, we got to get this guy's name off of this if you really, because a lot of what the Nazca Mummy people post about is they are constantly saying why, and they post a link like this, but their text will be, why doesn't this get more coverage in mainstream ufology or in America or during this time period or whatever? Why aren't people paying attention to this topic, Nazca Mummies? And here's a lot of really good stuff that people should be paying attention to. And, I'll write back and say, because of this guy, stop putting his name on there. And I think they have, to some extent. But, for that reason, I don't, never really paid super close attention. Like some of it, and I'll mention him here in a second, I was always kind of liking and sharing because it was like an entertaining topic, but I was never like getting into the nitty gritty of it because it's easy to kind of ignore. Because like I said, if it's directly connected to Jamie Maussan in the way that this topic is, it's kind of like, I don't know. There's like 600 other videos I could go watch the next 2 hours instead of that one. So that's how I get to this guy, Dean Miller. I don't know how long I've been following him. You know, I think I've seen him around and liked his stuff. But at some point, he just, kind of Twitter owned me. I mean, it's not even kind of. He Twitter owned me on Jamie Wasson. Because I was talking shit about Jamie Wasson, all the stuff that I just said. And probably not as politely. And he said, oh yeah? Well, are you talking about the fucking liar who won the libel lawsuit against the government of Peru? And I did not know that he had won a libel lawsuit against the government of Peru. And I wrote back to him and said that, but also I said what I already just said, that like I just kind of not been paying that close of attention because I didn't have to. And still don't have to. And he said he got the money and donated all the money to the Ica College for a new museum and equipment to study the Nazca beans. And I have no fucking clue, is what he said. Which I guess is true. And like I said, I pay attention to the Nazca Mummy topic, just not super closely. I went and looked a lot closer since the Twitter ownage. Here he is posting some great factoids. Christina Gomez shows up all over the place. Is it the same person as the other Gomez? I think that's what I have here is her link. Robin. So Robin's the guy I would share and like everything that he said. He's in the UFO Twitter steer, posting about Nazca Mummies all the time, and also saying, hey, why doesn't this get any coverage? And I would say, because of Jamie Wasson. He would say, yeah, you're kind of right. But so he doesn't post as much about Jamie Wasson. And I had actually thought kind of like, I don't know, maybe he's not even posting about the Nazca Mummies very much. But he is. Here's the Nazca Mummies Resource Repository. Lots of stuff. All the people you should like. Great videos to watch. I mean, just if you spent some time going through this particular thread, and that link will be down in your chum bucket, of course. But this link right here will get you all into the Nazca Mummies. And so what I know about Nazca Mummies is that they're mummified creatures that people mummified a long ass time ago. And it seems like a lot of scientists have been involved in verifying the mummies and the stuff inside of them as being authentic in all the different ways, that they're not fakes or hoaxes or some kind of Frankenstein creature that's actually been mummified, but these are authentic organisms that were mummified a long time ago, and they're not infant bones and llama skulls. So that's one of the main bullet points, right? So they're really old, they're actual, they're authentic, they're not fakes. Lots of scientists have been involved in verifying all of that. Lots of scientists have gone there and studied these things in different ways. And a lot of the ways that they have studied them, we look at their bones, we look at their structures. We found there was that clip there, Joe Rogan's even talking about it. There's implants in these creatures in their chests, hip implants. The thing in the chest, all they can do is speculate what that is. Is it some kind of translating device? They got things in their head, in their skull, very thin metallic device called the lattice. That's like a mesh of silver and mercury and whatever else. There's a lot of info here that you could go through and study. So we're not going to get caught up trying to do a complete study on the Nazca Mummies, but we do want to include them, and like I said, especially include the Twitter ownage by Dean Miller. But we want to include the Nazca Mummies and all the Nazca Mummy people who have been working really hard, especially in the UFO Twitter sphere, to basically make sure that there's a Nazca Mummy category. There we go, Gonzalo Chavez. Like I said, I exchanged a lot of like Twitter barbs with Gonzalo Chavez about the Nazca Mummies. I think there's 3 main mummies: a male, female, and another small male or whatever. The female, if there's the female, maybe there's more than one female. It has eggs inside of it. They determine that these are like some kind of 2-legged, 3-fingered, 3-toed reptile kind of creatures. So you should spend some time looking into the Nazca Mummies. We will definitely spend more time talking about the Nazca Mummies. This is a lot of places to look. The Nazca Mummies on Twitter, Dean Miller, who's posting some of the same exact things as far as that goes. This video is only 30 minutes. Here's a guy kind of explaining almost all the same exact stuff that I just told you. You can get to a lot more detail. And then I thought, because I'm always trying to find a way to include Mick West, he who shall not be named. People hate this guy. They hate him. Here's a good example of why. An example I used to use all the time was on Theories of Everything with Eric Weinstein. When he gets into an argument with Eric over using the word flex, and says he didn't use it when he used it. Like it was like we went and looked it up. It was like less than 2.5 minutes before he was saying he didn't use it. And on camera. So he argues about really petty things in a really petty way. So he says, ufologists think that because in 2009 the government used the term non-human intelligence source, that means the aliens are visiting. And he posts this, example of a government document where they use that. And so he's saying that ufologists have, derived everything that they've talked about over the last, 7, 8, 9 years about NHI from a red herring. And that disqualifies, obviously, ufologists, all of ufology. So Mick West is, he's an asshole. That's why people don't like him. And here he is talking about the Nazca Mummies. And this was like August 2024. This is his response to Gonzalo Chavez here, saying, why do you ignore this topic? And he's saying, I'm not ignoring. I wrote about him 7 years ago. And here's a link. And he basically says, basically the same thing I've been saying, but he's really meaner about it. If he can be. Saying, well, Jimmy Mason's a fraud. He's got in trouble for presenting fake South American mummies, fraudulent dolls made up of infants and llama skulls as aliens. And, the Nazca Mummies nowadays aren't really being presented as aliens necessarily. Some people, theorize a lot about them. Like they could be aliens. Maybe they were aliens and they were stranded here and they hooked up with humans and, taught them stuff, or at least talked to them. In Peruvian cave drawings, some of the ancient tribes that are represented are lizard people with eyes just like these things and 3 fingers, 2 legs. So, they became a tribe. Then they all died off and they got mummified so they could be remembered. Mick West says, hogwash. Those aren't real mummies. If it's related to Jamie Mason, fuck it all. That's kind of what he says here. I think this is my search for it. So there's, Mick West was not silent at all about Nazca Mummies and hasn't been. People talk shit to him about it. He comes back in his way and says, hey, look, Jaime Maussan's alien bodies presented to Mexican Congress, haha, are fake. Many people looked at him and pointed out obvious things that they're assembled. So did I. We got him in. He who cannot be named, Mick West. I named him.